Alaska. The land of the midnight sun. Icebergs and polar bears. Giant ice fields. Arctic wilderness and majestic wildlife. The noble grizzly. The hardy Eskimos. Alaska is all of these things, but it is much more. This is a place of incredible contrasts, settled by races of great diversity. From native cultures to Alaska's boomtowns, they exist together in harmony amidst a setting of unparalleled beauty and grandeur. This, then, is Alaska, truly the great land. Alaska is a land for superlatives. It is bigger than all but 16 of the world's nations. It has 17 of North America's 20 highest peaks, 34,000 miles of coastline, more than half of the world's glaciers, 3 million lakes, and so it goes on and on as visitors are awed by the sheer enormity of the landscape. You may choose to travel to Alaska by plane, or you may wish to explore by driving the Alaska Highway. While others choose to board a luxury cruise liner for a more leisurely and comfortable journey. But if you're looking for adventure at a more modest rate, visit Alaska using the Alaska State Ferry. From the state of Washington, you may drive your car or motorhome aboard one of these sturdy vessels and begin a 3-day journey through Southeast Alaska's Inside Passage, a journey that you will never forget. When the great glaciers of the last ice age retreated from this region, they left a new and spectacularly beautiful land behind. Hundreds of ships, ranging from giant liners to fishing boats, sail the rugged 1,000-mile-long passage. The Inside Passage has more than 1,000 islands punctuated by an occasional fishing village or small town, many established long ago by a variety of early explorers or fishermen. This 200-mile-wide by 600-mile-long portion of Southeast Alaska is a world unto itself, where only 53,000 people live, half of them in Juneau. The colorful town of Ketchikan is one of the stops along the passage. It was founded in 1886 and is located on the island of Reviehiheido. The waterfront is the center of the city, which has a population of about 13,000. Creek Street, located on Ketchikan Creek, was the city's famous red light district. Composed of 20 houses, some of which have been restored, it is a popular visitor attraction. The city has Alaska's largest collection of totem poles. Several sites are dedicated to this striking art form of the Tlingit and Haida Indians. At the Totem Pole Indian Heritage Center, artisans demonstrate the ancient art of creating a totem pole. Ketchikan is also the gateway to Misty Fjord National Monument, a marvelous wilderness of giant granite cliffs, glaciers, waterfalls, and lakes. It can be reached only by float plane or boat. Soon the ferry resumes its northward journey past snow-capped mountains and patches of beautiful fog-shrouded coast. The quaint town of Wrangell, with a population of about 3,000, was founded in 1844 by an American-Russian trading company and is located on the northwest tip of Wrangell Island. A variety of large and small cruise ships sail these waters, including a number of new luxurious passenger liners. The Wrangell Narrows Passage is plainly marked with buoys and floats. The beautiful town of Petersburg is situated on Mitkoff Island. Established by a Norwegian-American fisherman, fishing remains one of its principal industries. Its picturesque stores and homes are brightly painted with shops decorated in the motif of the town's Norwegian heritage. Petersburg can boast of the largest home-based halibut fleet in Alaska and is also well known for shrimp, salmon, and crab. Despite the lack of people, the passage is a busy place with churning cargo, passenger, and fishing vessels traveling to diverse destinations. Nearing Sitka, the setting sun produces a glorious sunset. Historic Sitka lies at the base of an extinct volcano. It was founded in 1799 and by 1806 was the capital of Russian Alaska. Main Street is dominated by St. Michael's Cathedral, one of the best examples of Russian architecture found in Alaska. The original church was built in 1884, and many of its original religious artifacts remain displayed within. Picturesque Pioneer Home has a dramatic backdrop of lofty peaks. Sitka's National Historic Park reflects its rich Indian heritage and its Russian-ruled past. A Russian fort was wiped out by the Tlingit Indians in 1802, but in 1804 the Russians returned, defeating the Indians in the Battle of Alaska. Near the Visitor Center stands an outstanding collection of historic totems, featuring original pieces and recreated ones that were lost to time and the elements. Skilled Indian artists demonstrate their traditional crafts for visitors. Heading north through lovely Salisbury Sound toward Juneau, the traveler is delighted by an endless variety of beauty. Juneau lies 900 air miles north of Seattle and has a population of 30,000. It is located on the southeastern Alaska mainland, but is accessible only by ship or plane. Founded in 1880 as a result of a gold strike, it became the capital of Alaska in 1900 when the government was moved from Sitka. The little chapel on the lake near Juneau offers a striking view of the ever-popular Mendenhall Glacier. The glacier is one of Alaska's largest, with a 200-foot high face. Nearly 3 miles wide and 12 miles long, it is one of the state's most spectacular sights. In the summer, the hardy can brave the chilly waters to play in a glacier pool. Exciting rafting excursions are available in the area. The best way to see the area's glaciers is by helicopter tours of the Juneau ice field, which usually take 30 to 60 minutes. This immense ice field covers 1,500 square miles and is the source of all the glaciers in the area, including Mendenhall, Taku, Eagle, and Herbert. The Executive Explorer is one of a number of boat tours into incredible Glacier Bay National Park. John Muir discovered Glacier Bay in 1879, and with it, a new land that had emerged from beneath the ice a mere century before. Just 200 years ago, this bay, where seals now frolic, was completely filled by a single massive glacier, 2,000 feet thick. Since that time, the giant glacier has retreated 65 miles, leaving a dozen smaller tributary glaciers sequestered in their inlets. Icebergs are constantly cracking off the glaciers, some with explosive force, to the delight of visitors. The bay encloses some 16 tidewater glaciers, which are glaciers that have their terminus in the water. This area is one of the world's finest examples of evolutionary healing of the land. Vast new forests, abundant vegetation and wildlife are now thriving in an area of former total devastation, all less than 100 years after its emergence from the ice. A visit to Glacier Bay is to travel back through time. New land that has not seen the light of day for thousands of years is still emerging as the glacier continues to retreat. Back on the State Ferry, we continue our northward journey up the Lynn Canal as the mountains become grander and the glaciers grow larger. Many species of sea mammals reside in the Inside Passage. They include the Steller sea lion that can weigh as much as 2,000 pounds. Nearly extinct 100 years ago, they are found in large numbers along the northern portion of the passage. Killer whales swim in pods of 3 to 30 and feed on members of the seal and otter families. At the first sign of danger, the sea lions duck for cover. Many areas of the Inside Passage receive annual rainfall of over 100 inches. The higher mountains receive enormous amounts of snow, which feeds countless glaciers and waterfalls. Travelers are often startled by huge rivers of highly silt-colored glacial water cutting dramatically through the waters of the passage. Just 20 miles from Skagway, the city of Haines is one of 2 termini of the Alaska State Ferry. From here you may disembark and travel northward to join the Alaska Highway. Haines is a center for the Tlingit Indian culture. Artists and craftspeople carve masks and make jewelry as visitors watch. Skagway is the final stop on our Inside Passage adventure. This amazing town, with a population of 800, is knee-deep in people when 200,000 cruise ship and ferry passengers arrive to explore its 6-block-long, roaring 90s business district. Although comparatively quiet in spring and fall, during the summer months it explodes with a carnival atmosphere. It's a fun place to be, where you can relive those historic days in 1898 when bars were filled with painted dance hall queens and men ate cigars and shot each other under the influence of bad whiskey. During the season, as many as 4 or 5 major cruise liners may arrive here each day. In 1976, the National Park Service established the Klondike Gold Rush National Historic Park here. It includes a visitor center and the historical business district of Skagway. Today, the park has many restored historic buildings, and additional ones are regularly being refurbished. Skagway played a key role in one of the most exciting chapters in American history during the dramatic Klondike Gold Rush of 1897 through 1899. During this period, uncounted thousands poured through these streets on their way north to the Yukon and Canada. They headed for Dawson City, 500 miles inland. Conditions were so bad that less than half ever reached the gold fields. In 1900, just as the gold rush ended, the famous White Pass and Yukon narrow gauge railroad began service between Skagway and Whitehorse in the Yukon. Today, this popular attraction carries visitors to the top of dramatic White Pass summit on one of the steepest railroad grades in North America. The remains of the infamous White Pass Trail can be seen at many points along the way. Thousands of horses and countless men died during the horror of ascending it. The marvelous Klondike Highway that traverses White Pass carries the traveler into a region that still remains the wilderness that faced the first explorers long ago. Exciting wildlife abounds here. At the summit, sparkling lakes nestle at the foot of mile-high mountains. From the Yukon, the Alaska Highway enters Alaska proper near the 930,000-acre Tetlin National Wildlife Refuge. It was created to preserve wildlife and their natural habitat. At the Alaskan town of Tok, the Glen Highway provides an all-weather route from Valdez and Anchorage. Mentasta Lake, along with placid rivers and forest-shrouded mountains, continue to provide the traveler with an ever-changing scenic panorama. Past Copper River rise the lofty peaks of the Great Wrangell Mountains. They and the Elias Range lie within the boundaries of the Wrangell-Elias National Park. 7 of the 10 highest peaks in North America are found within the park's boundaries. One of the world's greatest ice fields, larger than Switzerland, is found here, and it also includes Alaska's largest glacier, Malaspina. Winter wind sweeping across these vast stretches of ice chill the North American continent as far south as Chicago. Numerous streams and gorgeous lakes dot the landscape. Billy Mitchell Mountain looms above the Richardson Highway en route to the port of Valdez. Worthington Glacier is a small mountain glacier located within an area of about 3.5 square miles. It lies along the Richardson Highway, and it's possible to drive to its base. The glacier shows strong evidence of recent shrinkage, indicated by the tremendous amount of moraine material surrounding it. Thompson Pass and the rugged valley below that leads to Valdez, some 20 miles distant, supports other glaciers, rivers, and many waterfalls. The small, picturesque city of Valdez is one of Alaska's principal ports. Its economy thrives on fishing and oil. Nestled between fjords and mountains, Valdez Small Boat Harbor is bustling with small fishing vessels bringing cargoes of top-quality seafood to port. The harbor and the city were once devastated by a gigantic tidal wave resulting from the 1964 9.2 Alaskan earthquake. During the salmon runs, the bay is lined with fishermen. The amazing salmon begin their lives in the lakes and headwaters of Alaskan rivers that empty into the sea. They migrate into the open waters where they mature and return to their place of birth to spawn and die, completing their life cycle. Fishermen and bears harvest them as they return from the sea. A baby water ouzel begins its life cycle with a little help from its mother. Near Valdez, Mineral Creek Canyon provides breathtaking views of alpine scenery. Its narrow 5.5-mile-long dirt road takes the visitor to scores of tumbling waterfalls, wildlife, and roaring streams, or you may wish to pan for gold. A visit to Valdez would not be complete without a cruise to the world-famous Columbia Glacier. Boarding the Glacier Spirit, you'll embark on an excursion into a different world, one that will be exciting, educational, and will last most of the day. The variety of sea and bird life here delights everyone. The sea otter is an amazing and playful creature. They eat, sleep, mate, and give birth at sea. The Arm, which refers to a water inlet from the sea, and Valdez Bay are a part of Prince William Sound. The mountains and sheer cliffs teem with waterfalls and glaciers. A buoy filled with sea lions is a common and amusing sight. Moving into ice-filled waters produces a sharp drop in temperature. Even on a warm summer day, the air chill here may be similar to that inside your refrigerator. The increasing ice flows are produced by the Columbia or other glaciers in the area. Many of the icebergs carry rocks, boulders, and soil that was picked up by the glacier during its plunge to the sea. As the ice melts, they will be deposited on the ocean floor. Blue ice denotes a lack of oxygen, indicating that this ice came from near the base of the glacier, where enormous pressures have squeezed out the oxygen molecules. Columbia Glacier is the largest of many that are located in Prince William Sound. It's about 40 miles long and covers an area of 440 square miles. Since 1979, it has retreated about 5 miles. The harbor seal and the similar spotted seal are found in Alaskan coastal regions. Leaving Columbia Glacier, our excursion boat heads for Growler Island. The Stan Stephen charters provide a private camp on the island where you can explore, warm up, and enjoy a delicious hot meal while you observe the 6-mile face of the Columbia Glacier. The recent large increase in icebergs is seen as a possible risk to oil tankers leaving Valdez, so the area is heavily patrolled by the Coast Guard. Valdez is the terminus of the Alaskan pipeline. 2 million barrels a day are shipped from this terminal to the States, and the facilities are capable of withstanding an 8.0 earthquake. The Trans-Alaska Pipeline is a major tourist attraction, and there are numerous points to view it from, especially along the Richardson Highway. It reaches 800 miles from Prudhoe Bay to Valdez. North of Valdez, the scenic Glen Highway passes the northern flank of the giant coastal Chugach and Kenai mountain ranges that extend for some 500 miles. The 10,000 square mile ice fields here comprise about 1/3 of Alaska's total glaciated area. The Glen Highway leads to the state's only major city, beautiful Anchorage, where nearly 1/2 of Alaska's population of 600,000 live. Prior to World War I, only a tent city existed here. This was followed by several boom and bust periods, climaxing with the devastating 1964 Alaska earthquake. Since that time, the city's growth has spiraled upwards, culminating with the oil boom of the 1970s. Now a brash, young, growing metropolis, it is attracting young and old alike from the lower 48 who wish to begin a new and more exciting life. Flying is a way of life in Alaska. It seems that almost every lake and pond has one or more float planes parked on it. The world's largest float plane base is located in the city. Anchorage has been called the air crossroads of the world. The number of takeoffs from Anchorage's International Airport is one of the highest in the United States. South toward Portage Glacier on the Seward Highway, the Chugach State Park and Museum displays a giant railroad snowplow with blades 9 feet across. It is located on the unique turn-again arm of the Cook Inlet. The world's second highest tidal surge of 38 feet occurs here. As the tide goes out, the large bay drains almost completely, leaving huge areas of mudflats. Then, as the tide returns, a great rush of water with the tidal waves as high as 10 feet sweeps back in to fill the arm once again. High up the steep granite cliffs of Turnagain Arm, Dall sheep graze contentedly. The females are sometimes mistaken for mountain goats, which are found in southeast Alaska. The trip to Portage Glacier from Anchorage is one of the most beautiful in Alaska, with inlets, glacier-capped peaks, and lush alpine meadows. Alaskan moose are the largest in the world. A male can stand as high as 8 feet at the shoulder and weigh 1,500 or more pounds. Cows with calves are fiercely protective. Portage Glacier is Alaska's most visited attraction. Located just 50 miles from Anchorage, its stunning glacial lake and the surrounding towering Chugach Mountains create a scene of ultimate beauty. Countless waterfalls tumble down from melting glaciers surrounding the lake. One of the finest visitor centers in Alaska is maintained by the Forest Service. It contains an actual iceberg. A visit to Portage should include the striking tour that takes the visitor to the face of the glacier on the cruise ship Ptarmigan. The ice of a glacier is much harder than regular ice. In fact, it's about as hard as rock because of the tremendous pressure that it is subjected to. Most of the face of Portage Glacier is underwater. Some 80 miles to the south is the small but important port of Seward. Much of the supplies that Anchorage receives from the outside world arrive here by ship and are then transferred by rail to points as far north as Fairbanks, some 470 miles distant. Seward has one of the largest fishing fleets in Alaska, and it's an important part of the town's economy. The town is the gateway to the Kenai Fjords National Park. Here, the Kenai Fjords Tours takes you on an adventure that you will never forget. From the moment you leave until you return at the end of the day, the pace never slows, and the excitement seems to mount with each new sighting. The national park is located on the southeastern Kenai Peninsula. It's a pristine and rugged land, supporting coastal mountain fjords whose beauty is emphasized by the icebound land, and wildlife that's as varied as the landscape itself. Many kinds of whales frequent Alaskan waters, and the shouts of "There she blows!" brings everyone to attention. There's nothing more thrilling than seeing one of these behemoths of the ocean break the surface.
Watch it wiggle.
Eight major tidewater glaciers sweep to the sea through narrow valleys. Holgate Glacier is one of these eight. Its 700-foot-high face towers above the fjord that it has created and the pygmy-sized excursion vessels far below. These massive glaciers are only a small part of the giant 300-square-mile Harding ice field that feeds them all. The thunderous booms of these glaciers calving icebergs into fjords can sometimes be heard 20 miles away. As much as 1,000 inches of snow fall on the coastal mountains each year, replenishing the giant ice fields that feed the glaciers. Time and the weight of the overlying snow transforms the snow into ice. The pull of gravity and the weight of the snowy mass makes the ice flow outward in all directions, squeezing it into glaciers that move ever downward, gouging and carving the land as they go. Several groups of smaller islands have been set aside as wildlife refuges. Thousands of seabirds inhabit these steep cliffs and rocky shores, including everyone's favorite, the lovable puffins. Other common birds observed here include gulls, black-legged kittiwakes, and common murres. Large numbers of stellar sea lions haul themselves out onto the rocky islands at the entrances to Ayalik and Nuka Bays. Walruses are found in Alaska's western coastal waters beyond the park. They're sociable animals, gathering in mixed herds of up to 2,000 bulls, cows, and calves. The giant bull males can weigh up to 3,000 pounds, and the size of their tusks establishes dominance. They are used both as defensive and offensive weapons. After an exciting day exploring the wonders of one of our nation's most unusual national parks, our cruise boat returns to its home port. North of Seward, the Sterling Highway crosses the 23,000 square mile Kenai Peninsula. Within its boundaries lies a remarkably diverse landscape and population. Ringed by mountains on the south and east, the peninsula rises between the Cook Inlet and the Gulf of Alaska. Fishing, hunting, and tourism are the peninsula's main industries, and the Kenai River is the center of this. It's famous for its beautiful turquoise color. Sometimes it is hard to believe the extraordinary numbers of fishermen, and even more startling to see almost every one of them pulling in a catch. Numerous lovely lakes dot the area, and in season, profuse wildflowers seem to be everywhere. Along the river, fishermen are at it at the crack of dawn, and it doesn't take long to reach the legal limit. The town of Kenai is the oldest permanent settlement on the peninsula, and its historic attractions include an old Russian Orthodox church where tours are conducted by the resident priest. The scenic Cook Inlet is named after famous Captain James Cook, who discovered it in 1778, along with its frustrating tidal surges. The shore affords a majestic view of 4 active snow-covered volcanic mountains across the Cook Inlet in the Chigmit Mountains. Mount Redoubt erupted in December 1989 and covered much of the western Kenai Peninsula with a layer of volcanic ash. Founded 100 years ago by Russians, the old fishing village of Ninilchik lies directly across from Mount Redoubt. The rivers of the peninsula are glacier-fed, resulting in their distinct glacial color. Kachemak Bay at the southwestern tip of the Kenai Peninsula is considered by many one of the most beautiful in the world. On the bay, the town of Homer enjoys a mild year-round climate and an average rainfall of 25 inches. It's a favorite with artists, tourists, and fishermen. Its beautiful setting is unsurpassed in all of Alaska. It also has one of the most unusual attractions anywhere in the world, the Homer Spit, a 5-mile-long, slender finger of land that pokes out into Kachemak Bay. A paved road leads out to its tip, where a busy harbor accommodates hundreds of fishing and pleasure boats and the Alaska State Ferry. Shops, a resort, beaches, and even an RV park are found here. Every morning during the season, the fishing fleets, both private and commercial, head out into the bay and gulf, where huge halibut weighing hundreds of pounds are caught. Across the bay lie the majestic Kenai Mountains, with a half a dozen glaciers spilling down from the Harding ice field. During the summer, as the magic of dusk cloaks the spit, this becomes a special place. A pair of bald eagles are framed against the dramatic backdrop of the Kenai Mountains. While a few miles away in the Kenai National Wildlife Refuge, a black bear catches its dinner. The Wildlife Refuge encompasses almost 2 million acres and is a natural habitat for brown and black bears, and the fishing is excellent. Many birds nest here, including the great bald eagle, our national symbol. They feed mainly on fish and are common in Alaska, especially along the seacoast, rivers, and lakes. The sanctuary's main purpose is to protect the largest antlered animal in the world, the Alaskan moose. Many thousands have been killed in a single year by motor vehicles and trains. The North American caribou is the same species as the reindeer of Europe and Asia. If it's bears you want to see, then McNeil River State Game Sanctuary, across the Cook Inlet on the Alaska Peninsula, is the place. The only problem is that the State Park Service keeps strict controls of encounters with grizzlies, so no more than 10 people a day are permitted into the area. Traveling northward near Anchorage, we come upon the unusual Russian Orthodox Church at the village of Iklutna. Here, Russian traditions mingle with those of the Tenina Indians, for this was the site of Russian fur trading posts and Indian culture. Their forebears rest in a unique cemetery where tiny structures over the grave sites preserve the possessions of the dead, which link their culture to their adopted faith. Traveling north on the George Park Highway gives a first glimpse of the distant Mount McKinley. This enormous mountain is part of one of the world's major mountain chains, the colossal Alaska Range. Its peak, the highest in North America, reaches 20,320 feet. As the highway moves northward toward Denali National Park, the trees become fewer and smaller. This far north, the timberline is reached at between 2,500 and 3,000 feet. Denali National Park and Preserve is one of the most popular destinations in Alaska. You can arrive by motor vehicle or by the popular Alaska Railroad. The original park was established in 1917 and now has been expanded to over 6 million acres. The National Park Visitor Center provides great orientation for travelers. The park was established for the protection and preservation of one of the largest concentrations of wildlife in the Northern Hemisphere. This magnificent landscape, beautiful as it is mostly unsuitable for profitable human endeavors. The trees are too small. The soil is cold and unfertile. Its very vastness protected it from becoming anything more than a sparsely settled land. A bus tour of the park will be one of the most rewarding experiences of your lifetime. Although wildlife preservation is Denali's main purpose, the park was originally named Mount McKinley National Park in honor of the great mountain located here. The tour begins with early morning fog filling many of the lower valleys of the park. In addition to Park Service shuttle buses, commercial bus tours are available and usually take 6 to 8 hours. Most tours travel about 55 miles into the park for the best view of Mount McKinley. The terrain is glacier-carved and rugged. The ancient glaciers have long since passed, leaving broad, smooth valleys, while in the mountains and along their flanks, active glaciers still press inexorably forward. The first glimpse of a grizzly is a moment to remember. These powerful and fierce animals feed on most anything they come across that is edible. Not fast as predators go, they must rely on satisfying most of their food needs from edible plants, squirrels, and other animal carcasses. Their obsession with feeding is well-founded, for the ones that fail to gain enough weight to carry them through their winter hibernation will not survive. The tour bus makes frequent stops, and an informative guide will explain the highlights and details of the park. At the Toklat River crossing, ample opportunity is provided to permit visitors to photograph the surrounding countryside. More sightings of grizzlies are likely as the tour continues. Moose may be found anywhere there is water and plant growth. The regal caribou are seriously harassed by the botfly in Denali. In fact, they can cause death by depositing eggs in their throats. At times, they will run wildly to rid themselves of the pests. Along the way, a much appreciated stop is made in order to give the passengers a chance to settle their jangled nerves. The graded road is marked by precipices that plunge 1,000 feet or more. The Arctic ground squirrel is by far the most frequently observed mammal found here, and one of the most interesting. The Dall sheep is related to the bighorn. No other mammal can match their climbing ability. The rams are well known for their headbutting, where charges result in collisions at a combined speed of 60 miles per hour or more. Interior Alaskan grizzlies are usually more blonde in color than the others. The climax of the tour is the viewpoint at Stony Hill, where, weather permitting, you can view Mount McKinley as you would an overwhelmingly beautiful painting. This great mountain and the Alaska Range were uplifted by the head-on collision of two tectonic plates. Rising from the lowlands, McKinley's 18,000-foot vertical face is greater than even Mount Everest's. It is no wonder that the Athabascan Indians named it Denali, meaning the High One. North from Denali, the highway follows the Nenana River, where exhilarating raft trips are available. Fairbanks, just south of the Arctic Circle, is Alaska's second largest city. The University of Alaska at Fairbanks, founded in 1921, is the pride of the city and contributes a great deal of research to the community and state. Its experimental horticulture school has confirmed that Alaskan vegetables grow to phenomenal size because of long summer days and richer soil near the surface where roots are confined by the frozen ground below. The University of Alaska Museum at Fairbanks is one of the finest in Alaska. It exhibits range from totem poles and rockets to natural history. Among its displays is an ancient, well-preserved bison that was frozen in a glacier over 10,000 years ago. The Sternwheeler Discovery 3 offers visitors an exciting cruise on the Chena River. In including a bush pilot demonstration at the river's edge.
Oh, beautiful. Perfect.
Long before roads were cut through this wilderness, paddle boats were plying the riverways. Thick forests and unique homes line the river. Ahead is one of the largest glacial rivers in the world, the vast Tanana. Passengers are surprised as they pass from the clear waters of the China to the opaque waters of the Tanana River, which carries 100,000 tons daily of glacial silt downstream. It is fed by over 100 major glaciers. Most of Alaska's rivers are distinguished by their gray color, caused by great glaciers that pulverize rocks into an incredibly fine silt. Known as glacial flour, it is so fine that even when confined to a glass or jar, it does not settle to the bottom. The stern wheeler visits a recreated Athabascan Indian River village, where real Alaskan natives share their old culture with visitors. All too soon it is time to leave and fly to the frozen north. 200 miles north of Fairbanks lie the 10,000-foot peaks of the Brooks Range. And beyond the Arctic Circle, the vast, flat, tundra-covered stretches of the North Slope Wilderness. This is the land of the Eskimo. It is white, cold, and surprisingly bountiful. Vast herds of caribou, numbering in the hundreds of thousands, roam the slope. For thousands of years, the Inupiat Eskimos have successfully adapted to the frigid conditions of the Arctic and the fierceness of its predators. Polar bears prowl on the Arctic ice floes as well as ashore. These huge animals subsist only on meat, thus have larger and sharper teeth than other bears. But unlike other bears, they do not hibernate and hunt year-round. The bears are a source of food and skin for the Eskimos. Barrow, with a population of more than 3,000, is Alaska's largest Inupiat Eskimo community and is the headquarters for the North Slope Borough, the largest locally governed geographical area in the United States. The ancestors of many of today's families were whalers and traders who followed the huge bowhead whale into Arctic waters more than a century ago. Introduced in ancient times, the dog sled still supplies transportation, as this one does, as it hauls supplies to Barrow.
Get up there, come on.
Children here are the same as everywhere. The giant jawbones of a whale indicate that the old ways are still honored as the preparation for the whale hunt begins. The venerated umiak, a durable Eskimo paddle boat, is still carefully constructed step by step. First, animal skins are prepared and then sewed together to form a covering. A wooden frame is prepared by skilled craftsmen. These vessels are so seaworthy that in the 19th century, New England whalers often preferred the umiak over their own whaling boats. Whale hunting has deep religious and psychological importance for the Inupiat Eskimos and is seldom understood by outsiders. As the whale season approaches, the mounting excitement is much like the approach of Christmas in the Western world. Once finished, the umiak is placed in the sun to bleach in final preparation for the hunt. The whaling camp is where the lonely vigil takes place, watching and waiting for the first appearance of a bowhead whale. At a sighting, the captain and his crew rush to their boats and the hunt is on. These giant whales can reach lengths up to 60 feet. Like most Eskimo ventures, whaling is a cooperative undertaking. Entire villages turn out to participate in hauling the whale ashore amid happy jubilation and merrymaking. The meat is then cut, prepared, and distributed among the villagers, followed by a feast and celebration. Each whaling village, as here in Barrow, has its own Nalukatuk celebration for a successful hunting season. It includes the blanket toss, said to have originated when blankets were used to toss hunters high above the landscape so they could spot game. In addition to the summer Nalukatuk whale celebrations, winter has its own special celebration, Kivgik, the messenger feast. Winter brings not only biting cold and snow to Alaska, but also scenes of great beauty. Both wildlife and humans adapt to the changing environment. But the harsh winds of winter are followed by the glory of spring as it spreads northward over the Alaskan landscape. People find it hard to describe the awesome sights that they have seen during their Alaskan visit. In 1899, Henry Gannett, chief geographer of the U.S. Geological Survey, expressed it in this manner: "Its grandeur is more valuable than gold or the fish or the timber, for it will never be exhausted. If you are old, go by all means. But if you are young, wait. The scenery of Alaska is much grander than anything else in the world, and it is not well to dull one's capacity for enjoyment by seeing the finest first." The sheer wonder of this wilderness is overwhelming. No one person has ever seen it all, and no one ever will. It is fierce and unforgiving, yet it is incredibly beautiful. Those that have seen it will never forget Alaska, the great land.